now Oasa Duvernay. Oasa lives on the same block as I do. I gradually became aware that she's an artist. I would often see her and her friend, another neighbor, and another artist named Mildred Beltry. They can often be seen working on a public art display consisting of meaningful quotes that they skillfully and artfully put on the gates that stretch across the Franklin Avenue shuttle overpass. Oasa and Mildred started the Brooklyn High Art Machine Project in 2010, which they describe as a socially engaged public art project. Projects include a documentation project before it's gone, archive to survive.
What we've been doing is listening to stories and telling stories and finding out how much we have in common, whether it's people we know or experiences that we've had or that place that people used to go to that doesn't exist anymore.
And I think it really evolved from our being on the street with people. That's the one thing that we can count on is that people stop to talk to us. And so we wanted to, formalize that a little bit by actually collecting the stories. And, it is about people's individual stories, but I think it also becomes about our collective story together, living on the block for so many years. When people look at a neighborhood like ours that is deep in the throes of gentrification and has been for a long time, it's often data driven. And we wanted to create a document that is more warm, more human, and more personal accounts, not just of like sad times of what we're losing, but, the joy of what we had and have still.
And then I started noticing the tees that Oasa wears, always making a statement, either from her own design or by other designers. So tell me about your T-shirt. It says take no, and what's the other part? Do no harm. It's a do no harm that I don't understand, but you can tell me all about it.
I got this shirt from my friend. It's a collaboration between Francesca Silva and Cosmic Peace Studios. The artist there is Rose. And I think they actually share studio space. And I went to visit them one day and they had these shirts and they were really cool. And I got one.
Did most of them have quotes similar to this?
Yeah.
Or-
Francesca is a poet and tattoo artist. And it's her work that's on the back. I don't think Rose designed this original graphic. I think it might be from like the 60s or one of those eras. When was like the anti-war movement around that time. But I do like what it says. 'Cause it's
Well, what does it mean to you?
it means to me like to think about how you treat people and to make sure that you're also being treated with respect. So take no shit, but also don't give people shit unless they ask for it. So I always wear this t-shirt that says Islamic Youth on it on 9/11 because one of the things that stayed with me the most is all of the Sikh kids and other Muslim kids that were getting beat on by other people around New York City after 9/11 happened, basically paying a price for something they had nothing to do with. That always stayed with me.
Oasa shares the story behind a series of T-shirts she designed against capitalism. So tell me about the design, because I think of horror.
The design is inspired by those old classic horror film fonts, or I guess general design that you would see sometimes. I always like things that look like someone made it by hand. I've always really been into that. I think even in my own artwork, I like there to be some sort of like the aesthetic of it being made by hand and it being more thoughtful and also having some sense of urgency. But I am also really inspired by like old punk and hardcore t-shirts. I grew up going to hardcore shows when I was a teenager. Growing up and going to those kinds of shows and listening to that kind of music. Like I grew up listening to a lot of like New York hardcore bands and like early hardcore punk, like Bad Brains or even like Minor Threat. In high school, before I got into like more of the local bands, I really liked the Dead Kennedys, which was this like hardcore punk bands. And I remember one of the first t-shirts I bought was Nazi Punks Fuck Off. And it had like a big swastika crossed out. Like I bought that shit on fucking St. Mark's Place. And I'm sure it was being mass produced somewhere. But like just the idea of wearing some shit like that was really meaningful and very flippant, you know. And there's just something I really like about having that message, like carrying that message like on your chest. Like you're saying it with your whole chest, literally. And so I think all of those types of things, like that type of aesthetic, really influenced me making this t-shirt series.
So tell me about, like you said, having this on.
Yeah, like having it on you. So I think for me, like I've thought a lot about this, but like what is capitalism, right? Because I think a lot of the times, like we sort of know what capitalism is, but if you're asked to define it, not everyone can really define it. And a lot of people define it by like buying a lot of shit. That's not capitalism. That's consumerism, and it helps to drive capitalism. But capitalism is a system of exploitation, like slavery, where we all come from. Like that is a capitalist system, right? Or capitalism is part of like came out of that. And so what are the systems of exploitation versus like other systems of exchange that we have? And so also so that I thought a lot about that when making the shirt. So I sourced the shirts from thrift shops, so I didn't like buy brand new stuff. So this is like, I don't know, some like I don't like a 12-year-old's summer camp tie-dye experiment. Maybe it was new when they made it, but so I like bought a bunch of like t-shirts from thrift shops. Some of them already had other prints on them that I printed over, especially if it was funny, like if it was like a funny message or a message that was kind of, I guess, like contradictory to the capitalism statement. Those things kind of went into my thinking behind making these shirts, and the design of it is like, well, what is capitalism really? Like capitalism is not us just exchanging money and buying goods. Like capitalism is creating the system of exploitation to profit from, and it knowingly harming other people with it. Like I don't want to be a part of that, but I'm pretty sure I am. I think about ways I guess to unpack it, maybe to do better. I'm sure there are people who have figured out like how to not use plastic and not have any sort of like packaging waste or any of those other things. I have not figured that out. I've not figured out how to live my life like that in a way that makes sense to me. I'm sure some people have. As where like there are people who are like, I can't ever figure out how to live without Amazon. Like they just function on Amazon. They're like, I have no choice. This is how I get things. This is how, I'm able to, do this or have this or whatever it is. And that's, I was where like I don't really use Amazon. I think I do the free trial like a couple times a year. Probably for a while I did that. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. Something that I've been exploring for a while and thinking about like the destroy it before it destroys you. Just like, well, yeah, like we don't really need this system of exploitation. We don't it's not necessary. We're in it, and so we have to figure out how to stay alive and survive and function in the day to day. But like, how can we destroy the system of exploitation before it completely destroys us? So I guess that is the idea behind this t-shirt. This was the first iteration in the series. There's 2 other iterations I made. Those other ones it's this similar font. I think I redid the font for the new ones, and instead of it saying destroy it before it destroys you, it's choose your lose. My idea was to keep this general design and have Donald Trump still there, and instead of Ivanka, just have Joe Biden's head. But then he pulled out of the race. And so I was like, all right, well, I won't be producing that design. And I have this thing where I will not create art that is critical of Black people or Black women, because it will always be weaponized against us. So I did not want to make a shirt with Kamala on it. I'm not that like it would go viral or like be all over the place, but I know that when we put something out that is critical of each other, if it's left too open-ended, or when it's critical of another Black person, if it is too open-ended, and too easily interpreted in different ways, it will always be weaponized against us. And it's a t-shirt. And I didn't want that. But regardless of how I, like how much I love or don't love Kamala Harris, like I didn't want, like that's just policy for me in the work that I make, period. Only exception I would say at this point, there might be more if I search long enough, would be like Eric Adams and Clarence Thomas, because they're just dangerous people. Just like, so it ended up being, I got rid of this image completely. And there's one image of the cobalt mines in Congo. So it's choose your lose and then the cobalt mines, because this is capitalism across. And that is like a very good example of systems of capitalism, the system of exploitation, where essentially the entire world is running on the blood of the Congolese cobalt miners and their families. And it's disgusting. And I'm a part of it. And then the another image is from, I believe, if I'm remembering right, it's like from a bombing in Gaza. So it's just like the aftermath of a bombing in Gaza. And it says capitalism across with choose your lose. I would say in like 2024, it felt like that those were the choices we were being offered. It's just like, in what way do you want to lose out? In what way, in what way do you want to exploit and be exploited? I don't know that that's always true, but it definitely felt true in the moment when I was making the t-shirts.
I want to thank this week's guest, Oasa, for sharing such an insightful perspective on capitalism. I also want to invite you to join me for future episodes because, as you'll discover, t-shirts spark conversations. We cover a wide range of stories. Coming up next, we'll be celebrating Black fathers. I love seeing teas that honor deserving Black dads, especially because too often Black men are unfairly portrayed as absent or irresponsible. I see so many powerful examples of the opposite: men showing up, leading with love, and shaping the next generation. T-shirts open up all kinds of conversations. So yeah, make sure you tune in for that one.